good morning, depending on your location, and warm welcome to this session of the Inkasi Living Lab seminars. And today we have the pleasure of hearing Rosa Marrero Rodriguez's presentation on implementation of dual vocational training in Spain and businesses' commitment in training. And Rosa Marrero is professor of sociology at the University of La Laguna, Spain. And she has worked extensively on the nexus of labor markets, enterprises, and education, focusing especially on the tourism sector. And yes, please. So warm welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. ¿Y dónde tenía que ir? Que ya no me acuerdo. Ok. Buenas tardes o buenos días, buenos al mediodía, donde espero que estén bien, donde quiera que estén. I will expose my presentation in English. When I finish, I will speak in Spanish. Thanks to the Inkasi project for creating these spaces for academic discussion. And thanks to Anita, Arjan, and Erica for receiving me at Tampere University. This presentation is about the implementation of dual vocational training in Spain from 2012 to this academic year. And I would like to conclude with some reflections on the conditions and possibilities for companies to become training spaces. Spain's commitment to a dual vocational training system activates and develops the training role of companies, which until now has been primarily assigned to educational centers. The resulting institutional and cultural change will be consolidated in the medium term, as this 2024-25 academic year was the first in which it has been made mandatory in every school. Dual vocational training represents a break with traditional Spanish educational system. It shifts from a model where the prominence and leadership of the school as a training agent to one in which it shares the delivery of content and skills with the company. The dual model requires more closer collaboration between companies and schools. Therefore, it is of sociological interest to address the institutional, normative, and subjective processes through which changes are developed and incorporated. The following presentation is the result of a research project on the implementation of dual system in Spain. In the initial phase from 2019 to 2022, 40 in-depth interviews were conducted in some vocational training centers that offer courses in the hospitality and tourism vocational field in Andalusia and the Canary Islands. The interviewers were teachers, directors, students, company tutors, entrepreneurs, and experts. The fieldwork took place between 2020 and 2021 during the COVID pandemic. A second phase is unfinished and began in 2024. In this case, the areas of study are healthcare vocational fields, and again, those of hospitality and tourism, and 12 interviews have been conducted so far. Initially, our focus was on the implementation process of dual vocational system, then shifted to the role of the company tutor, and now is more focused on the organizational, technological, and occupational framework where company tutors carry out their training task, in short, in the company. The expression vocational education and training refers to a broad and complex field, among other reasons because it's a relational concept. Learning as a social process is linked to the work process and organizations. Precisely for this reason, it's difficult to organize the collective construction of competencies by involving different actors. Some authors summarize the philosophy of vocational education and training in two historically established principles: the dualism of learning locations, company and school, and the vocational principle. The latter refers to the characteristics of occupations relatively independent of jobs and the standardized certification of qualifications. It emerged in the 20th century to quickly address the needs of the labor market, shifting from on-the-job learning, the apprentice, to a more academic approach, the student. With globalization, this trend was partially reversed, as it attempted to meet the needs of the labor market in a way that was more aligned with the needs of companies. Thus, these two trends came into conflict, a constant trend over the following decades. However, some authors have argued that the practice of training employees with companies has eroded in recent decades. In any case, vocational training involves skills, competences, occupational groups, technologies, and business organizational systems. These exist in specific institutional ecosystems with some types of collective actors. What about the vocational training in Spain? I continue my presentation with a telegraphic history of dual vocational training in Spain. First of all, I need to say that in recent decades, the number of vocational training students has grown, gradually moving away from being considered the ugly duckling of secondary education. Despite this, vocational training has lower rates than the rest of Europe in secondary levels. In Spain, work experience in companies became mandatory for all vocational students in the 90s in the last century, with a subject called workplace training or formación en centros de trabajo. The experience gained from this training in workplaces will be important in the implementation of dual system starting after 2012, because this year, 2012, dual vocational training was launched with the approval of a royal decree which develops the training and apprenticeship contract and establishes the foundations of dual vocational training. It was initially implemented experimentally, then regularly, but always on a voluntary basis by the centers until this academic year when it became mandatory. The speed of implementation has varied according to the autonomous communities and professional families. Although the same royal decree regulated both the training and apprenticeship contract and the foundations of dual system, the truth is that most students don't have a contract, but rather receive grants. In 2022, organic law about the organization and integration of vocational training was approved. This law aims to establish and organize a single and integrated vocational training system. It requires dual training at some levels, such as intermediate and advanced vocational training. This law introduces other interesting developments that I will not address here. In short, it's a period with many legal changes which lead to the mandatory dual vocational training. Take the Canary Islands as an example. In the 2023-24 academic year, there were 66 centers that had at least one dual vocational training project. Some of these centers had a single project, while others had more than 10. Compared to the total number of public centers, this means that approximately half were already beginning to familiarize themselves with dual system. This perspective from the center, however, must be qualified by enrollment. dual vocational training remained a minority in that academic year. It did not exceed 7% in the Canary Islands. Therefore, in the coming academic years, many changes will occur in vocational training centers as dual education will be mandatory. In the traditional vocational training model, students spend in the companies 20% of the total training time. With the new law, maybe between 25 and 35 of the total hours. I emphasize that it's no longer about internships, but training. What about the results of our research? First, school leadership. Schools lead the training process in both conventional and dual vocational training. They organize teaching, make contacts with companies, select students in each of them, and monitor their progress. Although vocational training places companies in more central position in the training learning processes, leadership is exercised by the education system. However, the governance and negotiation conditions from Germanic countries are not met. The school relies on its own educational tradition to undertake this experiment. 2, workplace training as a transition between conventional and dual vocational training. The fundamental tool used by schools is workplace training or formación en centros de trabajo. The company internships carried out under the previous vocational training system have provided the centers with relational capital. They use this capital to grow, but also as a space for observation and sometimes rejection of companies not committed to training. This has been especially significant in the interviews with the hospitality and tourism sector, where the lack of time is frequently mentioned. 3, the role of the prospector. Through this research, it was observed that the implementation of the dual system forced the autonomous communities to create the role of the prospector, a person who seeks out the companies and provides them with information about the new system. It's too early to analyze this role, as it has only recently begun to develop. This role is a teacher who has time for look for companies, talk with them, and give information about dual philosophy and organization. 4, what about chambers of commerce and other collective actors? It's also being observed that some chambers and commerce are exercising a timid role as a collective actor, training future business tutors and making lists of companies available to the centers. Dependent on how it develops, the chambers of commerce could act as a collective intermediary or informational player, fostering faster and more efficient connections between educational institutions and businesses. But of course, is currently minimal, at least in the Canary Islands. 5, the selection of the tutor at the company. A significant portion of Spanish research has focused on teachers and the education system, and much less on the companies that are becoming central to this new system, nor on the role of the in-company tutor. Previous research in other countries has highlighted the contrast between the formally required qualifications of teachers and the lack thereof among in-company tutors. In our research, there is no standardized formal recognition or set of requirements necessary to be the person in charge or the person responsible for training in a company. In general, interviews talk about tutors' work involvement or training vocation. Many company tutors were already internship coordinators in the conventional bids. 6, the heterogeneity of company tutor profiles, at least One previous study had indicated that companies that participate in dual vets are older, larger, more investment intensive, and more profitable. There is also wide variation across company sectors of activity. Thus, notable differences are observed depending on the size of the company. For example, in large hotel chains, tutoring is carried out through the company's training department. However, many companies that accept students are medium-sized or small. Here, the tutor is often the head of the department that hosts the students, for example, the chef or the reception manager. It's reasonable to assume that the type of department influences the profile of the company tutor. 7, the collective tutor. In some cases, it has been observed that tutoring is carried out collectively. This has already been identified in other researchers, such as in the case of collective tutoring models and secondary trainers, employees who participate in training without formal recognition as tutors. In departments where a work group develops the objectives and tasks, the group of employees supports and welcomes the student, becoming informal tutors. This is a solution to the inherent contradiction between student apprenticeship, status of learning and working, and being part of a team. Distributed mentoring among the team creates the learning communities that Filler and Wing talk about, but on the other hand, it raises doubts about the real consequences of this assignment to the team in terms of the rights and duties of the apprentice and his contribution to the creation of value in the work process. Informality in the tutor's teaching process. Here we meet many differences. It can range from providing basic and functional information for completing tasks to more individualized support with ongoing mentoring of the apprentices. It's sometimes combined with theoretical classes on specific topics. There is no formal planning for student work and learning. In very few cases, a training program is mentioned. 9, time as a crucial element of training. Here, time appears as a central variable. In fact, time, or the lack of it, is probably the most prominent element. In the words of the tutors who provide the training, teaching apprentices is often incompatible with the tasks to be performed in the company. The pressure of workloads, especially in small companies where there are no training departments, prevents them from devoting the necessary time to student learnings. Tutors' concerns are evident. They even consider a waste of time, explanation to students, meetings with the schools, and the documentation to be completed. Sometimes lost time is compensated by the help apprentices provide in the production process. Due to their ambivalent nature, they are subjects in training, but also working hours. 10, rotation between position and or departments as an element of training. The business reality and the content of the different subjects present a logical mismatch. This sometimes requires rotating students between positions within a company or between several different ones. This requires additional planning and coordination efforts between educational centers and companies. This has been included in the in the Royal Decree in 2023, promoting association between companies to make this rotation possible. I would like to talk about soft skills in some types of family profession, but I don't have time for it. So I continue with assessment. Assessment is based on informal and involving procedures and plans of action. The company tutor is responsible for assessing actual learning through work, and the teacher at the school is formally responsible for supervising the assessment. There are several levels of communication between the school and the company. The basic differences between educational and business systems are evident. It's difficult to directly transfer the semantic field of the school where focus on learning outcomes and assessment criteria to the business context. The solutions tested are varied and not standardized. It is common for students to perform same tasks alone. This is the most difficult aspect of monitoring student results in the company. There is a clash between the formal procedures of the educational system and the informal procedures of the company. And finally, the students. In the Spanish model, the apprenticeship is provided through a training and apprenticeship contract. However, the predominant figure is the student, who sometimes receives a scholarship or a grant. Some companies request specific student profiles. This requires greater organizational effort from educational centers, and it places the education system in a contradictory position regarding the principle of equal opportunity. Across these previous descriptions, the following should be emphasized. First, generic or specific competences. The content and competencies proposed by the educational authority address all the competencies of a degree. Some training experience in companies are very specific. Here, a tension arises between generic and specific competencies. It is the educational system that pushes toward the former, while the company partially guides toward the latter. The rotation among companies is a solution in a business environment with a diversity of positions, levels of specialization across departments, and a business tradition with little formalization of the required competencies. Vocational training provides skills for incorporation into the company. At the same time, social integration is part of the public government's educational project. However, entry into a company is sometimes done to perform functions in a specific position, but also sometimes for an occupational group undergoing transformation for a company style orientated specifically toward some types of objectives or subject to significant organizational or technological changes. Second, the principle of equal opportunity. We consider the education system as an institution based on the principle of equal opportunity. It's worth asking to what extent dual vocational training can alter this principle, as companies adapt some of the learning content and outcomes to their specific needs. Depending on the company where the training is carried out, one content or another will be learned. Not all companies can teach all the content due to their specialization. We must also pay attention to the influence of companies' selective criteria regarding preferred student profiles. We are facing the danger of inequality in training experiences with companies. Furthermore, an important axis of differentiation has been identified, which determines learning dynamics, the size of the company. And this is when I arrived to the company as a training space. To conclude this presentation, all of the above leads us to a research agenda on the training capacity of companies. Some dimensions have been identified because they influences the capacity and willingness of companies as training spaces. In that sense, we can identify some independent dimensions. We need to take into account the next dimensions. First, the size of company this is very important. And more in the case of Spain, where there are many small and medium enterprises. Second, occupational groups, their main skills, some technological skill, some traditional, some with an important part of social skill. So we think that occupational groups is very important. Third, organization. In a specific way, work rhythms and loads, teamwork, relationship between the human resources departments, in the case, and other departments. And four, the type of activity. But in fact, I think the most important are the size of the company, the occupational groups, and the organization. So if we take into account these dimensions, I think we can understand better tutor selection criteria, training and assessment practices, involvement of tutors, relationship with stakeholders, the possibilities for students to be hired by the company. The capacity and the willingness of companies to train students depends on dimensions such as those described above. These dimensions will determine the strength or weakness of the training process at the company. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. Gracias, quitos, and thank you.